Hello, everyone. Welcome to Christopher's Entertainment Blog. I am your host, Chris. Welcome to my Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain spoiler review, guys. This is a spoiler review, so keep that in mind. I'm going to talk about all the aspects of the game as much as I can remember. It's quite a long game. I've probably spent 200 hours on this game on the PS4, and I loved it. So let me just start that off with I loved it. I know that there is some hate going around for this game. A lot by the fans, longtime fans of Metal Gear, and I am a longtime fan of Metal Gear. I was there in 1998. I bought Metal Gear Solid 1 for the PlayStation, and I've been buying them ever since. And I'm a huge fan of the lore of Metal Gear. And I love the games. I speed run Metal Gear Solid on Twitch occasionally. So, and I love Metal Gear Solid 3. I would really love to learn more about speedrunning that game. I love the Metal Gear series. I really do. And when they decided we're going to make a Metal Gear Solid 5, I loved it. I was like, finally, we're going to get another Metal Gear game by Hideo Kojima. Finally. And then Ground Zeroes comes out. And I'm like, okay, this is different. This is not like the older Metal Gears. I was like, okay. But I try to be open-minded about everything. I try to have patience for things. I try to give things a chance. I try to be open-minded. I try not to bash things like, I don't do that. I try not to. I try to give it, all honestly, a fair shot, fair shake, unlike a lot of people that just want to hate just for hate, which I don't understand. But for Ground Zeroes, I loved it. I really did. I'm like, it's a game. It's fun. I don't see what the problem is. I understand the people, some of the ones that didn't like it. They say, oh, well, it's like Splinter Cell now. That's some of the things I've heard. It's like Splinter Cell, or it's more westernized, or whatever. I'm like, well, okay. I don't see the problem. I really don't see the problem there. I mean, it's similar to Splinter Cell, maybe, but in a lot of ways, it's not. I mean, it's still Metal Gear, and I can still see that. And I actually like this better than Splinter Cell, to be honest. There you go. I like it better than Splinter Cell. So I don't know, really. I don't really make that comparison too much, and I don't see why that's a negative anyway. But it was a complete difference. It was a difference. I mean, one of the biggest differences is that we got a new voice actor. David Hayter is gone. Maybe that's why a lot of the hate stems from, is that we get Kiefer Sutherland that comes in there. I'll admit that when I heard that Hayter wasn't coming back, I was bummed. I was like, oh man, this game's not going to be any good. I mean, it's not. And then I hear, well, they're going to get Kiefer Sutherland. I was like, well, Kiefer is a very good actor. He's made some bad movies here and there, but I mean, he did one of my favorite shows, which was 24. I loved 24, and I was like, well, I mean, why not? I mean, Hayter, in the end of the day, is just a voice actor. It doesn't matter. I mean, he's not that character. He's just an actor. He's just a voice actor. Just a voice. Although his voice did symbolize Solid Snake or Big Boss or whatever, it would only make sense that Big Boss would have a little bit different voice. At least to me, it would make sense that Big Boss would have a little bit different voice. But this was back at Ground Zeroes. I was like, well, this would make a little more sense, that he would have a different voice than Solid Snake. I mean, even though they're a clone, I don't think they're perfect. I don't think they're an I think Liquid always said that he was imperfect, or I don't think they're exact perfect clones. I think there's a little bit of oddities here and there. I could be wrong. I mean, the lore is quite confusing at times, but. So, I mean, I warmed up to the idea. A lot of people really bashed the whole idea of him doing it. I mean, I didn't really see it really warranting the hate. I mean, another similarity to Splinter Cell. Michael Ironside did Splinter Cell did who's I don't forget the character's name in Splinter Cell. He was that voice though throughout the series. I mean, he was that character too from Splinter Cell. It was like when you listen to that guy, you think of Michael Ironside. At least I did. And when you think of Snake or Solid Snake or whatever, you think of David Hayter. And I do. I mean, I love David Hayter. I really do. But there was a reasoning that they didn't choose Hayter for this role. And it was a role. It was an acting role. Sutherland they mapped his face and like his whole body. I think he was on a green screen. He did the stop motion capture for Boss in this game. The facial recognition, whatnot. I mean, you see like behind the scenes video of his face. I mean, when you see Big Boss move his face and talk in it, that's Sutherland doing the acting. He's not only the voice, he is acting. Where David Hayter, he's been here and there around different movies and stuff. But let's be honest. David Hayter, he's not a very good actor, I don't think. I don't think he's a very good actor. He's a great voice actor. He is great as Big Boss or Solid Snake. He is great at that. Great voice actor. But as an actor, he hasn't really done anything. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he's done a few things here and there. A few. Not very much. And I don't think they were really very good, really. So, it comes down that Kiefer Sutherland is a recognized actor. All those seasons of 24. Lost Boys. Kiefer Sutherland did The Lost Boys. Great horror film. Great vampire horror film. The Lost Boys. He's done other things. He's done some bad acting jobs too. So that Pompeii movie, that was terrible. But still, I believe, way better actor than David Hayter would be in this role. And they really needed someone that could act and really do these movements. When he gets on the horse, he's getting up on like a horse that's like, like almost, it wasn't a real horse, but they did the motion capture for that and him riding this horse and everything. It was just like, they did everything. A lot of this they needed an actor. And I think that's why they decided to go this route. So I was like, well, they're going for this route. It's totally different than the other Metal Gear games. They're trying to make it more of a realistic feel in this game, so I could understand that. So I got past it. Where a lot of the other people, they wanted to hate on that, I was like, no, drop it. There was a lot of fan theories, of just stupid theories about Quiet. When we seen Quiet, Quiet was Chico, and I shot that down immediately. I was like, that is stupid. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of in my life. And I was right. It was stupid. I hated that fan theory anyway. And it turned out that Quiet is like one of the coolest characters in the game. But anyway, this whole game, we get to past Ground Zeroes, which I loved. That whole prologue, it was short, but it gave you a nice little taste of what's to come with the Phantom Pain. And I wanted this game to get here so bad. And it finally gets here. And I've been loving every second of it. I've been loving it. And you see a lot of the reviews from the past month there's been reviews of like 10 out of 10 and 9.5 out of 10 and a masterpiece and all this. And I've played over 200 hours of this game. I got 100%. I have 100% on this game. So I've done pretty much everything. There's probably some things, even though I have 100%, I could still do probably something. This game is packed. There's so much content in this game. It is boggling, mind-boggling. And for such a big game, 200 hours worth of gameplay, I was surprised there wasn't actually more bugs and more problems in the game than what it has. So that's why I probably wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10. I don't think it's perfect. It's got some bugs. It's got some weird scaling issues when you're trying to climb up on rocks or hills or whatever. He doesn't want to do that. That was so annoying. So annoying. So it's got that problem. It had some bugs. I had a freezing bug one time where my whole character froze. That was annoying. I had to reset. And there was like a bug with Quiet, which was a game-breaking bug. I mean, that was just horrible. People lost entire gameplay saves because of that. So I think it's been patched now. I think we're okay there. But there was a bug with Quiet that if you brought her on missions, I forget what's the numbers of the missions. I think one was 42. I could be wrong, but if you brought her, you could possibly erase your entire save. So there's another deduction there. I mean, it had quite a few bad bugs here and there. Another deduction for me would probably be the story. The story was a little lacking, and I will admit it was a little lacking. I mean, you have the problem with, for me personally, the problem with MGS4 was it had too much. It was an interactive movie. All right, it was great, but it was an interactive movie. It's exactly what it was. It was 80% movie cutscenes, 20% gameplay. I like MGS4. I'm just not in love with it. And I would actually, believe it or not, I like this game more than Metal Gear Solid 4. I really do. I like the characters. They look strong. They don't look old. I hated old Snake. I hated it. I hated that they made Solid Snake old and made him like feeble and dying. I hated that. Adamantly, I hate it. I did not like it at all. But you do get a resolve in this story. And this is just a gap. People are like, well, this is the way it ends. I mean, there's no ending. I'm like, well, it's not supposed to be. I mean, this is just a fill gap of a game to fill in between Peace Walker and Metal Gear 1. The original Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2. Then Metal Gear Solid. It's a fill gap. This is pretty much the closure of Big Boss's story. But we do see the entire closure for Big Boss in MG1, Metal Gear 1 on the original Nintendo. That's the outer heaven, that he creates and gets destroyed by Solid Snake. We see that. This is just the fill gap is what it is. But you know what? The gameplay in this is fun. I love it. People will say, well, it's repetitive. Every game's repetitive. But is the repetition fun? And I think this repetition is fun. You can go into this guns blazing if you want. You can go in it stealthy, sneaking. And those missions are fun. I played 200 hours. I never got bored. Not once. Not once did I get bored at this game. So, I mean, right now, I got 2 games for Game of the Year. The Witcher 3 and this game. So, and I've played 200 hours with The Witcher 3. And I've played 200 hours with this game. And I can't distinguish which one's better. That would be a harder decision. Oh, man. That's put me on the spot. I would have to think more about that because both of these games are great. And I won't cry if one other game gets Game of the Year than the other one. I think they're both worthy, to be honest. And I love this game. And so there you go. There you go. The missions are cool. They are kind of the same thing. You get haloed in, dropped off, and you do your mission, you get picked up, whatever. But I think the missions are cool. It does get stretched out at the end. That is a negative for me, that the missions do get very stretched at the end. I mean, it feels like filler at the end, like they're trying to fill in a gap there at the end for some reason. And then you get these weird other, things tacked on, like extreme or, total stealth or whatever it might be, which is cool. I wish they should have made it to where you play the entire game, all the missions, then you can go back and choose what you want. Do you want substance? Do you want total stealth? Do you want extreme? Do you want Euro extreme? Play the whole game that way. I didn't like the way they did it at the end, so that's another negative for me. But man, that twist at the end was radical. I didn't really see that coming. So I was kind of surprised. I was like, wow, that's cool. And Hideo Kojima likes to do the little twists at the end, and finding out that Venom Snake is not really Big Boss. So that also makes sense why Kiefer, for a minute, it was like, well, that's why Kiefer is doing the voice, because he's not really Big Boss. It would have been very cool if they could have got the real Big Boss at the end to be David Hayter. That would have been even cooler, but it was still Kiefer. I was like, okay. But I think that would have been the icing on the cake if he would have talked and it would have been David Hayter. That would have been, people probably would have lost their minds if this game in a lot of people's eyes would have been redeemed if Big Boss opened his mouth and it was David Hayter's voice, which I think they missed an opportunity there. I will admit that I was on board with Kiefer doing this, and I was like, okay. But then I find out that Venom Snake is an imposter. He's just not like a clone, but he's just like, he's faking Big Boss. He's just like, he's got his face, you know? So he's like a decoy octopus in a way, you know? So I was like, okay, you know, that makes sense that Kiefer would be doing the voice. He would have a different voice. But then Big Boss opens his mouth, the real Big Boss at the end, and it's still Kiefer. I was like, that would have been great if it would have been David Hayter. That would have been cool. But I like all the other characters in this. I wish there would have been more of Ocelot. I mean, he doesn't really do much. He's cool in this game. I like Ocelot. He's like his real self in this instead of this like alter ego. You know, he's always playing like a triple spy, you know. So I thought it was cool to actually get his like real self in this. That was cool. Miller, you know, the whole thing with Miller and Emmerich and Quiet. I really enjoyed the story, especially Quiet's story. I thought that was very emotional, especially when she leaves at, you know, in her mission. I thought that was emotional, and I didn't want her to leave. She was one of my favorite buddies in the game, and that was emotional. I hope that they, you know, she comes back sometimes. Like, where did she go? You know, is she still alive? Where is she at in the Metal Gear Solid story? You don't see her ever again, so that's kind of like a gap there, you know. And I really would wish they would resolve that. We didn't get to see the ending of that. Eli, the little boy, we know that that's Liquid. Come on. We know that's Liquid. And obviously, Venom Snake, that's why they said, well, he's not a match to you. Well, yeah, he's not really Big Boss. He's really Liquid Snake. We didn't really get to see any more of him. He goes off with the floating boy, which, of course, that's Psycho Mantis. I mean, I wish we would have seen more of that. That would have been cool if we would have seen more with Liquid Snake and Mantis and whatever. And of course, the man on fire, of course that's Volgin. If anybody didn't know that was Volgin, when you see him come into the hospital the first time, I mean, I don't know what to say. Because of course that's Volgin. You knew it. I mean, he looks, the armor, the whole suit he's got on looks exactly like Volgin. And the whole, like, the bullets around his body, exactly the same way it was in MGS3. I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool seeing Volgin again. And I wish he would have talked. That would have been so cool if they would have had him talk or something. But, yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed it, guys. I know there's a lot of hate out there, and it's all subjective. Movies, TV shows, games. It's all subjective. There is no really right and wrong. Everyone's going to have a different aspect to this. But I enjoyed it. But anyway, guys, I'm going overtime here. If there's anything you guys want to comment on about this game, like or hate, I mean, hey, put it in there. Please do so in the comments. Also, please like and subscribe. I do appreciate that support. But that will do it for me for this video, guys. Oh, and a review. I didn't give my score. I'm going to give it a 9.5. It's not perfect. I was going to say a 9, but I'm going to give it a 9.5. They're resolving a lot of the issues and the bugs and stuff with updates, so I'm going to give it a 9.5. I really love the game. It's got some problems here and there and whatever, but in the long run, I really enjoyed it. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't have spent over 200 hours on the game. But yeah, guys, please like and subscribe. Do appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks a lot, guys. Take it easy.